Shut up and take my money!
Is Stellaris Toxoids the best species pack that Paradox have ever produced? Quite possibly. Should you part with your cold hard cash and get your hands on it? Maybe? Let's dive in and take a look at this new DLC because I think the answer is a little bit nuanced. Like any species pack we've had in Stellaris, Stellaris Toxoids is primarily focused on being an aesthetic add-on. You're going to get your hands on 15 new species portraits, 1 new machine portrait, there are 4 new name lists, one is quite clearly Nurgle inspired, another is interestingly Finnish in inspiration, and the other 2 are probably welcome additions if you're tired of the regular name lists. A host of new traits, a new cityscape, 2 new origins, one of which is mainly mechanical in nature, and the other, Knights of the Toxic God, is probably the closest thing to a story pack we've had in a very long time. There are 3 new civics included, one of which provides some very fundamental changes to basic gameplay, actually allowing us to terraform worlds into tomb worlds for the first time ever, outside of concussive bombardment style terraforming.
I don't really have a lot to tell you. Governing the universe is actually quite easy, if you keep a clear head.
An interestingly sarcastic advisor voice, and of course a whole host of new flag symbols. And if you're enjoying this video, please purchase that like button. Let's break it down even further then. So the new species portraits are probably some of the best portraits you're going to get from a DLC, and I say that mainly because these portraits not just have color variant changes, but you've also got some identity changes on the species as well. For instance, here you can change the mask on this species type and not just the color. If we think back to other species packs, you mainly only had the choice of changing the color or changing the clothes. And on the topic of clothes, you finally have the option of having fully clothed robots if you pick up this DLC. When we look at the new traits, Noxious is a bit of an interesting new trait. The main thing on this point is it will set your species habitability between 30 and 70%. It's an interesting remix of something like Subterranean from Overlord. Incubators strikes me as an essential new trait if you want to play effectively with Void Dwellers, which are currently chronically underpowered at the moment. Whilst interesting, don't provide you with a massive, varied and different depth of playstyle, which is probably what you want from a new DLC. The new overtuned origin is pretty wild. If you take this one, you can basically juice up your pops with really cheap versions of the regular traits that reduce the lifespan of your leaders. And if you're a hive mind or a lithoid empire type, this is going to be absolutely overpowered. I cannot see them hitting it with a strong nerf stick very, very soon. It also represents the only origin to beeline you towards the genetic ascension path, in the same way that Teachers of the Shroud is the psionic ascension origin, and to a lesser extent Mechanist is the synthetic ascension as well. Knights of the Toxic God represents a really interesting and weird playstyle where you basically are constantly on a quest throughout the game until you find your toxic god. If you're finding replayability in Stellaris a little bit lackluster at the moment and you want a more involved, more in-depth storyline for the game, then possibly this DLC should be something you pick up, because Knights of the Toxic God is very in-depth, very thorough. You're going to be going on lots of quests and be reading so many pop-ups and text boxes. I think overall there's somewhere between 10 and 13,000 words included in the storyline for just this one origin. Mutagenic spars is a bit of an interesting trade-off, getting extra pop growth and paying some habitability and happiness for that, but overall it's something of a change in the modifiers here. It's not a massively different playstyle. Relentless Industrialists, on the other hand, does represent something of a wildly different playstyle. By taking this, you can actually, as I've mentioned before, finally terraform planets into tomb worlds all over the place. And if you go with something like the post-apocalyptic origin, giving you a tomb world start, this has some really interesting synergy there. You can also get plus 60% output from alloys on all of your Ecumenopolis worlds that won't accidentally turn into a tomb world, so from a power perspective, it's wildly powerful too. Scavengers is basically a have your cake and eat it civic. In 3.5 there is now a policy on whether or not you want to, when you have debris from enemy ships, use that debris to get research or use it to get alloys and other goods. Scavengers lets you do both. Interesting, though not a massively wildly different playstyle, I don't believe. And there is a lovely new ship set included in this DLC as well. So overall, my thoughts on should you buy Stellaris Toxoids are, it depends. I do think that Stellaris Toxoids is the best and most wide-reaching species pack that Paradox have released. It both gives you a massive new wealth of options from an art perspective, whilst also giving you lots of gameplay improvements as well. And for those of you that have been waiting a long time to get a new story pack, this does offer something along those lines with the Knights of the Toxic God Origin. Yes, if you really want extra story pack stuff, probably get the story packs first, but this is still a good all-rounder choice as a DLC. If you're enjoying this video and you decided, yes, that's it, darn it, I'm going to go out and buy Stellaris Toxoids, but you'd also like to support this channel with your purchase, I will place a link to the Humble Bundle page where you can purchase a Steam key for Stellaris Toxoids. I will post it as a pinned comment and put it in the description, so look out for it down below. If, on the one hand, you have got all of the DLC and this is the only DLC you are missing, and you want to try out the new traits, try out the new civics, try out the new origins, by all means go out and get it. It's definitely worth it if you're in that position. On the other hand, if you have basically no Stellaris DLC or just the main ones like Utopia, I'd probably recommend you get some of the other DLC, possibly like Federations or Apocalypse, that are going to have a massive and far-reaching impact on your playstyle and on your gameplay across all of your different games than something like Toxoids, which will only really have a big impact, I believe, if you take one of the two new origins or you actually actively pick something from this species pack. If you have all of the major DLC and you're just looking at some of the species packs to add some new artistic variety into the game or give you a few new playstyles, I probably wouldn't recommend you get Toxoids first if you're interested in playstyle change. Of course, if you like the unique artwork from this pack and you want to be playing with these new species and this new ship type, go out and get it straight away. Don't let anything stop you. But if what you're looking for is a new experience in the game, you're probably going to find some more variety from something like Necroids giving you the Necrophage origin. But what do you think about Stellaris Toxoids? Is it the best species pack we've ever had? Is it really good as a DLC? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And that does leave my final verdict at basically yes, but it does depend. The Stellaris Toxoids species pack does basically have more in it than any other species pack we have ever seen before. The portraits are more customizable, the clothes are more distinct, the ship appearance is really fantastic and quite a uniquely different ship appearance to quite a few of the ships we've seen before. There are a couple of far-reaching and wide gameplay changes included in the pack as well, so it really isn't just the cosmetics you're getting your hands on here. It does, however, I feel, struggle from some of the issues that Stellaris Nemesis DLC had, which that the broad strokes of this DLC could be largely missed if you don't directly go out and try to play with them. And the replayability for the large story origin I don't think is fantastic because it is basically a linear path, but doing that path the first time and possibly even the second and third time is really quite fun and engaging. But like most linear paths in video games, once you've done it a few times, you can quickly get bored with doing it over and over again, as it can get a little repetitive, monotonous, and you already know what's coming. And if you've enjoyed this video, this review of Stellaris Toxoids, if it's helped you decide whether or not you want to buy it, but you're still unsure in the general landscape where this might fit in, I would rank it as high C, low B in my Stellaris DLC tier list. If you'd like to find out more about the tier list, which could help you with your purchase, click the video on screen now.